here, like decrying marriage and the foolishness of it.
You've seen it all play out on Sister Wives Cody Brown's family, once a symbol of love and plural marriage. Now nothing more than a battleground of manipulation, control, and betrayal. The cracks that started small have now split wide open, and the tension between Cody and his wives is palpable. But it's not just the tension. You can see that's the problem. It's the web of contradictions, the twisting of truths, and the constant rewriting of history. Cody and Robin have turned this family dynamic into a game of manipulation, where they control the narrative and the others are left scrambling to keep up. Cody, the so-called patriarch, has played his hand in such a way that the emotional toll on the other wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, is impossible to ignore. But what happens when the truth starts coming out? What happens when the ones who've been silenced finally find their voice, stick around because things are about to get real ugly? Cody Brown has always positioned himself as the patriarch of his family. But over the seasons, we've watched him shift and twist, molding his narrative to suit his needs, never taking full responsibility for the fallout. If there's one thing Cody has perfected, it's manipulating the situation to keep control while pointing fingers at everyone but himself. Whether it's his treatment of the wives or the way he handles tough decisions, Cody has a way of making himself the victim and the one left in charge. Take, for example, his decision-making. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he imposed rigid rules on the family, dictating that his other wives couldn't come to his house unless they adhered to his strict guidelines. But when it came to Robin, suddenly there were exceptions. Robin, who was living under the same roof, had free reign, while the others were treated like outsiders. Viewers were shocked by his double standards, but what really stood out was Cody's ability to defend his actions. Brushing off the others' concerns, it was clear that he was operating under the belief that his decisions were final, no matter how they made the rest of the family feel. And then there's Robin on the surface. Robin presents herself as the passive partner, the one who's just there, quietly supporting Cody. But let's be real, Robin's passive-aggressive behavior has only intensified as the seasons have progressed. It's like she's become a shadow puppet, pulling strings behind the scenes, making sure Cody is firmly in her corner. She might not outwardly push buttons like Cody does, but her influence has grown in subtle, insidious ways. Cody, for all his bluster, has been completely swept into her world, one where her needs, emotions, and desires take precedence. And let's be honest, there's a clear imbalance in how Cody interacts with her compared to his other wives. Take the infamous Nanny situation during the pandemic. Cody made it crystal clear that he trusted the nanny enough to bring her into the bubble they'd created, but his other wives were left questioning his priorities. Robin's insistence on keeping the nanny around, despite all of Cody's rigid rules about who could and couldn't be part of their household, showcased a significant manipulation on her part. Not only did Robin make sure Cody's attention stayed firmly focused on her and her children, but she also subtly painted herself as the martyr, the one who had to handle everything while Cody was too overwhelmed in the process. She manipulated the narrative, creating a situation where the blame shifted away from her actions and onto the others. Viewers began noticing the pattern. While Cody was always so quick to place blame on Christine, Janelle, and Mary for the breakdowns in their relationships, he would deflect any accusations that pointed to Robin's role in the mess. The gaslighting was real. While he would say one thing to one wife, he'd turn around and say the exact opposite to Robin, keeping her happy and unaware of the consequences of her actions. The power dynamics within this family became clearer. As time went on, Cody and Robin were a unit, and the others were on the outside, looking in. It's no wonder that over time, Cody's behavior, along with Robin's manipulative passivity, led to an increasingly fractured family. Every season, the cracks got wider, and as it turns out, they're only getting worse. Cody and Robin have become masters of revisionist storytelling. It's like every time they're faced with a problem, a tough question, or an uncomfortable situation, they twist the narrative to make themselves look better, while everyone else is left holding the bag. It's almost as if they've created their own version of reality that conveniently fits their agenda, and it's frustrating for everyone, especially the viewers who've watched the show evolve over the years. Take Robin, for instance, one moment. She's claiming that she was never involved in the family's decision-making, acting as though she was just a bystander in all the chaos. Yet, when you look at her past actions, she's not just a passive observer, she's a key player in a lot of the drama. Remember when she downplayed her role in the whole bar incident? She acted like it was no big deal, like she had nothing to do with the...
Interesting that he's officiating a wedding when his own marriage has failed.
But let's be honest, she's the one who made it a bigger issue by constantly talking about how hurt she was, that the other wives didn't like her or accept her fully into the family. Robin is not someone who stays in the background. She stirs the pot while always making sure to position herself as the innocent victim when the heat comes down. Then there's Cody. He has a particular knack for rewriting history, especially when it comes to his involvement in the family's financial decisions. Take the situation with Christine's house sale for years. Cody acted like he was fine with the sale, even though Christine was clearly frustrated by the way he handled it. When it came time to talk about it publicly, Cody made it seem like he had no choice in the matter, like he wasn't involved at all in the decision-making process. He conveniently forgot that he had been the one pressuring Christine to sell her home in the first place, painting it as though it was all on her. It's another classic example of how Cody and Robin manipulate the narrative, making sure they appear blameless while completely disregarding the reality of the situation. This constant shifting of facts and downplaying events has had a significant impact on the viewers. We can see through the lies, and it's exhausting. It's like watching a game of smoke and mirrors where Cody and Robin try to convince everyone that the problem lies elsewhere, while they keep rewriting the truth to avoid accountability. It's textbook gaslighting. Cody will say one thing to one wife and the exact opposite to another. Robin will play the victim even when she's just as complicit in the issues at hand. The manipulation is subtle but effective, and it leaves the other wives and us, the audience, feeling gaslit and confused. The inconsistencies in their storytelling only add fuel to the fire. Every time Cody or Robin tries to rewrite history, they inadvertently expose just how little they're willing to take responsibility for their actions. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, they focus on shifting blame and manipulating perceptions, all in an attempt to maintain control. It's a dangerous game, and it's one that's eroding the trust within the family and with us. The viewers, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, were the emotional backbone of the Sister Wives saga, bringing real depth, struggles, and vulnerability to the show. From the start, we saw these women navigate complicated emotions, from jealousy to resentment to heartbreak, but it was always layered with love for Cody and a desire to keep the family intact. They each poured so much of themselves into the family, adjusting their lives to fit into the shared polygamous dynamic. The show wasn't just about the wives' relationships with Cody. It was about their emotional journeys and how they coped with the constant shifts and changes in their lives. Their struggles felt real, and it resonated with viewers who saw in them the kind of raw human complexity that made the show more than just drama. It became a story of sacrifice and emotional resilience. Now let's look at Robin from the very beginning. She entered the family as the new wife, but her contributions to the emotional landscape of the show were strikingly passive. Sure, she had her own moments of vulnerability, but when compared to the original three wives, Robin's narrative felt more like an accessory rather than a focal point. She wasn't the one putting herself through the emotional ringer to make the family work. Instead, she seemed to glide through, often positioning herself as the victim, but never fully owning the reality of her role in the family's breakdown. The emotional weight that Christine, Janelle, and Mary carried was overshadowed by Robin's passive-aggressive presence and Cody's favoritism towards her. As the years went on, the emotional imbalance became glaringly obvious. The original wives' struggles started to feel dismissed, while Cody and Robin's version of events took center stage. Frustration built up between the wives as their voices were sidelined, and slowly the fractures began. Janelle became more distant. Christine felt the emotional toll of Cody's favoritism, and Mary, well, she seemed to lose herself altogether in this tug-of-war. Cody and Robin's shift in the power dynamics didn't just fracture their relationships with each other, it created a rift between the original wives and the new narrative that Cody and Robin were pushing. What had once been a shared family story was now an increasingly one-sided drama. The pandemic hit, and suddenly everything in the Sister Wives world shifted as the world locked down. Cody and Robin were quick to enforce strict protocols. Social distancing was a must, and the entire family had to comply with his ever-changing rules, which were sometimes contradictory and often felt like a means of controlling the narrative. But here's where things took a sharp turn. Despite Cody's claims that these rules were to ensure family safety, he made an unexpected decision that left many viewers and family members scratching their heads. Enter the nanny, yes. While Cody was enforcing stringent protocols on the rest of his family, he and Robin made the controversial decision to invite an outsider, a nanny, into their home. This, of course, was during a time when the rest of the family was essentially isolated, unable to even visit one another for fear of spreading the virus. But suddenly there was someone new in Cody and Robin's bubble. And it wasn't just anyone. It was a nanny, someone outside the family entirely, who was given access to their inner circle, while Cody and Robin continued to impose strict rules on everyone else. Now imagine how this must have felt for the other wives, especially Christine and Mary. They were already feeling emotionally isolated and dismissed, but this move was like a slap in the face. Cody had made it clear that family was his priority, but here was this outsider getting preferential treatment. The message was loud and clear. Cody and Robin were not just making decisions for the family's safety. They were reinforcing a power dynamic that put them at the top, and this felt like a betrayal to everyone else. The family's frustration grew, particularly with the inconsistency in Cody's behavior. While he preached safety and caution, his actions were completely out of alignment with his statements. Why, for example, was the nanny allowed in the house when the other wives couldn't even visit? Why were Cody's rules so fluid, changing depending on his own needs and preferences for Christine? This incident further cemented her feeling of exclusion. She had already been struggling with her place in the family, and now she was pushed even further out for Mary, who had been desperately trying to keep her relationship with Cody alive. This betrayal was the last straw. It wasn't just about the nanny. It was about how Cody and Robin were making decisions that directly impacted the rest of the family, yet completely sidelining them in the process. The nanny incident wasn't just about one woman being brought into the household. It was a perfect metaphor for how Cody and Robin were operating. They were pulling the strings behind the scenes, controlling the narrative, and isolating everyone else in the process. Cody and Robin's lack of accountability has been one of the most glaring issues throughout Sister Wives, as the family's dynamics continue to fracture. One thing remains consistent: they refuse to take responsibility for the damage they've caused. Time and time again, Cody and Robin sidestep any real confrontation, skillfully deflecting blame and avoiding the tough questions that could shed light on their actions, whether it's during the tell-all episodes or in other interviews. Viewers, and let's face it, the other wives are left with a sense that Cody and Robin are never truly accountable for their actions. One of the biggest frustrations for fans and for the wives themselves is that the show often avoids giving us the real raw confrontation we crave. We see snippets of tension, glimpses of frustration, but these moments rarely lead to meaningful dialogue or resolution. Instead, we watch as Cody spins his narrative to fit whatever situation he's in at the moment. He'll flip-flop between playing the victim and acting as if he's the one being wronged, all while refusing to acknowledge the hurt he's caused. Let's think about the tell. Alls for a minute, these episodes were supposed to be where the family aired their grievances, where the truth came out. But what did we get instead? A whole lot of nothing every time someone calls Cody out on his behavior. He immediately goes on the defensive. Instead of reflecting on his actions or even acknowledging his part in the family's breakdown, he shifts the blame or downplays his role. It's exhausting to watch, and it leaves fans feeling like they're never going to get the answers they deserve. This constant evasion of accountability has had a ripple effect, especially on the other wives. Take Christine, for example. She's done with Cody's manipulation and control. But when she tries to address the issues, she's met with gaslighting or complete dismissal. Robin, who's often right by Cody's side, reinforces this cycle by playing the passive-aggressive role, constantly downplaying her influence in the families, unraveling the result, a growing sense of frustration from fans who feel like Cody and Robin's version of events never line up with the past footage we've seen, or the reality the other wives are living. But the most infuriating part of it all is Cody's attitude of superiority. From the moment he started favoring Robin and pushing the other wives aside, it became clear that Cody felt untouchable. He's consistently presented himself as the head of the family, and in his eyes, this grants him immunity from any sort of accountability. His dismissive attitude toward the other wives, particularly Christine and Mary, only further entrenches this notion. They're made to feel inferior, as if their feelings and concerns don't matter, compared to the rightness of Cody and Robin's perspective. In a sense, Cody's refusal to accept accountability is not just frustrating, it's also toxic. It keeps the family trapped in a cycle of unresolved issues with no opportunity for healing or growth. Cody and Robin are so focused on maintaining control and projecting an image of perfection that they've failed to see the damage they've caused. And it's not just the other wives who are hurt by this. It's the viewers, too, who've invested years in the family story, only to be met with endless contradictions, gaslighting, and a refusal to take responsibility. It's clear without accountability, nothing can change. And at this point, the frustration is palpable, the shift in the tell. All format where Cody and Robin are interviewed separately from the other. Wives speaks volumes about the growing divide within this family. Gone are the days when they could sit together at least somewhat united and face the hard truths as a collective. Now we see the two sides of the family being pulled in opposite directions, each holding on to their own version of reality. Cody and Robin separated from the other wives create a clear us versus them narrative, and this only serves to deepen the cracks that were already beginning to show. This separation isn't just logistical, it's symbolic. It fuels the distrust between Cody, Robin, and the other wives, and the inconsistencies between what Cody and Robin say and what Christine, Janelle, and Mary express are glaringly obvious when Cody and Robin are together. In their interviews, there's this air of rehearsed harmony, almost like they're putting on a performance for the cameras. They'll speak in unison about their perspective on family dynamics, but it often feels too polished, too calculated. Meanwhile, the other wives are left to fend for themselves, their emotions raw and unfiltered as they speak their truths. This separation creates a feeling of isolation for the original wives. Christine especially has spoken about how her relationship with Cody has deteriorated and how over time she's had to step into her own power, no longer willing to stay quiet or hide behind Cody's manipulative narrative. Christine's voice has grown stronger. Janelle, too, has been less passive, refusing to continue, pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. But Robin, on the other hand, continues to play her passive-aggressive role, pretending to be the innocent bystander, the victim of everyone else's drama, when in fact she is deeply entrenched in the manipulation and control alongside Cody. The lack of true confrontation in these tell-alls is one of the biggest letdowns. What should be an opportunity for the family to air their grievances, apologize, and attempt some form of reconciliation often devolves into what feels like a carefully orchestrated performance. Fans know this. They can see through the charades. The real drama is never addressed head-on, and instead we get vague statements and half-hearted attempts at justifying actions. Cody and Robin never seem to fully confront their mistakes when they're asked direct questions. They either dodge them or offer up rehearsed excuses. Meanwhile, the other wives are left with nothing but frustration as their attempts to voice the truth are shut down or ignored. This lack of confrontation, this unwillingness to hold themselves accountable, leaves everyone feeling disillusioned. It's frustrating for fans who have invested in the family's journey, wanting to see the raw, real side of things. They're craving genuine moments of reconciliation, not just more scripted responses and evasions. The more we see these tell-alls unfold, the clearer it becomes. There's no real progress. The growing divide between Cody and Robin and the rest of the family is only deepening, and it's heartbreaking to watch the tell-all should be a platform for healing, but instead, they've become just another episode of manufactured drama, leaving fans and the family themselves wondering if